Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Sparkle Saturdays, where we empower and inspire women, specifically Black women. We definitely are underserved, and so that is our goal to reach Black women and inspire and empower them. And today's show is no different. We are talking about empowering leadership insights on the international scale. And I'm super excited to have my Sparkle sister here, Adwoa Appiah-Boateng. I don't know if I said her last name right, but I do my best to say it right every time. And she is also my dear soror of Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority Incorporated. And I'm so excited to have her with us to talk about leadership on an international scale. So, Adwoa, tell us where you're from. And I know that's a loaded question for you, but tell us where you're from and what you do.
Hi, everybody. Hope all is well. My name is Adwoa. I'm from Ghana. I'm actually Ghanaian Canadian. I grew up in Ghana and moved to Canada when I was about 9 years old. And I started my international journey as an educator around 2009. Yeah.
Ah, nice.
Yeah.
Yes. And I was telling her that I actually had the opportunity to travel to Ghana in, oh, what year was that? 2022. I think it was
Yeah.
2022 for Afrochella, which now is called Afrofuture. And I mean, Ghanaians just know how to welcome people. Like hospitality is your national theme. And I
Thank
feel
you.
it now. You all, I'm at her Adwoa's house now in Abu Dhabi, and she is a very gracious, beautiful hostess, and I just appreciate her so much.
Thank you, Soror.
So let's get into these questions on leadership. So, talking about your leadership journey as we look into this new year, can you share your journey on becoming a vice principal here in Abu Dhabi and how goal setting has helped play that role to your success?
So I started my international journey. I taught in the UK for 2 years, and then I moved to Abu Dhabi 2011. And I was a classroom teacher for about 3.5 years. Then I became a grade level lead, and then I moved up to become a head of department for grades 3 to 5. Yes, and then I also moved up, and then I did my master's in curriculum assessment and instruction because that's where my passion was at. I
Okay.
think a lot of the problems that a lot of people were having was that they did not know how to break down the curriculum to meet the students' needs, or they didn't
Mm,
have the experience to backwards design. But somehow I just kind of fell into the passion of it. So a mentor of mine was like, if that's your passion, that's where you should get your master's in. So that's what I did. And then I became a curriculum coordinator for a year and a half, and then actually 2 years because I did it for one company and I moved into another company. And then I became a principal at a charter school in 2022. Um, and I think along that line, I knew that I wanted to be more and outside the classroom and to be able to help teachers be their best. Because sometimes I think people think that you can only help from the classroom if you or make those changes in the classroom. But I think what people also forget is that teachers need to have the training or need to have the push or need to have the guidance in order for them to be their best educators for our students. Because I think what a lot of people tend to forget is that they forget about the students' interest. So I think I manifested becoming a VP, to be honest, because I think January 2022 I made my prayer list, and the first thing that was on it was like I wanted to be a VP for an elementary school. Well, I ended up being a VP for a middle and high school. But in order for me to set my goals, I think Abu Dhabi is a little bit different. What I did, and to be very candid and honest, is like when you are Black, you have to go, or an immigrant anywhere, you have to go 10 times as hard. So what I did was that I was like, I knew that there are certain requirements that you needed in order to be a VP or a principal, and I didn't want anybody to come and tell me that I didn't have those requirements. So what I did was that I looked at those requirements and I made sure that I met the requirements that I needed, and just making sure that I was at the right place at the right time. So that just meant that having those uncomfortable conversations or making those connections that we don't want to make. And I know that people are like, oh, I don't think we should, but it's really important that when you are in a room, especially when the people look like us, they might not say, hey, let me help you, but you kind of have to put yourself out there. So that's what I did for about 4 months. I did put myself out there, and any job that I found on LinkedIn, on TES, Teach Anywhere, that was a leadership role, I applied for it anyways, because if you don't put yourself out there, nobody's going to know that you want those positions. So that's how I kind of manifested the position, to be honest. Yeah.
So write the vision and make it plain, right?
Yes. Yes, you have to.
Habakkuk? Yeah, that's what you did. So you made your
Yeah.
prayer list, you did
Mhm.
some research, and then you
Yes.
put yourself out there. You stepped out on faith.
Yes.
I love
That's
it. I
exactly.
love it. Okay, I'm about to follow suit. I'm about to follow suit in education.
Yes.
I'm about to follow suit. Okay, so let's talk about now adapting to change. The new year
Mm.
often brings those opportunities for change. How did you adapt to the cultural differences in the Middle East? And how do you encourage others to set goals for embracing new experiences?
Um, to be honest, most people, when they move here, they know somebody that has moved here. They visited here before. I had never visited the Middle East. I was just like, okay, there's a job. The weather is hot and I want to be in a hot place. So I didn't really plan for it, but I got really lucky where I ended up at a school where 99% of the kids were Emirati students. So what do? You immerse yourself in that culture. I went to weddings when I got invited to. I went to the homes when I got invited to. I think one of
Mhm.
the things that we tend to forget when we are expats is that we find our little expat group and then we leash on to that. But I think that when you do work in a school where you have diverse culture people, you open up yourself and you get to know them, because to be honest, 90% of the Ghanaian culture is like the Emirati culture. It
Really?
is like, yeah, it is like the black culture. So
So
literally
can
a
you tell
lot of
me give me a couple, like three similarities that you
um
recognized right away? This is interesting.
For example, like when you go into a home, the way you greet an elder, like they're very respectful about how they treat their elders, how they greet their elders. Like I know that in the Ghanaian Nigerian culture, when you meet an elder, you bow down. They do the same thing for their grandparents, their parents. That's one. Two, they eat with their hands and they love rice, so do Africans. And then just just the way that they do their wedding and their dowry and going to seek the hands in marriage is very, very cultural to the African culture, or even the Indian culture as well. So there's a
Mhm.
lot of similarities in terms of that as well. So I think just being more, when you do go into a new country, you have to try and assimilate into that culture, not change everything, but get to know their culture. Because once you see that, you will find the commonalities and the similarities within where you're from or that culture. Yeah.
So true, so true.
Mhm.
I mean, being an African American, especially a Gen X African American, respecting our elders is of primary importance to us.
Exactly.
And I do notice that in the Emirati culture, in the Middle Eastern culture overall, I noticed that the youth are very respectful to their elders, and I find
Definitely.
that's a similarity as well. And I just want to let the viewers know that I am live on Instagram, so sometimes you'll just see me looking back and forth. And I hope my Instagram viewers can hear Adwoa well. I see that Malika is on. Thank you for joining, sis. Okay, so let's get into this next question. Let's talk about inspiring others because, like, you've already inspired me. Like, I'm just going to apply for all the leadership positions, okay?
You should.
As a leader, how do you help students and staff create meaningful goals and stay motivated to achieve them, especially in an international and diverse setting?
um so one of the things is having a conversation where you listen. I think for me right now in my journey, we have, like, for example, we have grade 11s. So we listen to them and be like, okay, where do you want to be after you leave here? A part of the challenge that we're having right now is that a lot of our kids' parents come from the military background, and the requirements for the military background, when their parents went to the military or the police has totally changed. So once the students have that conversation with us, I'm like, you need to go and do a research, or we'll get them the facts. Because right now in the UAE, in order for a student to go into the military, they need an average of an 85%, not just to
Mhm,
pass. So we kind
mhm.
of have to give them that facts, and then we sit down with them and like, okay, realistically, this is where you are right now. What do you think we together can do to make sure that you get on your journey? And we had to involve parents as well, because it's not just
Yeah.
the school and the child. It's a community, right? It's a triangle.
Right.
So we're at a stage where right now we're having conversations with parents, and one thing that we've noticed also is like, not all the students can go to university, not all of them can join the military. So we're looking at even vocational pathways where we're going to introduce to the children in January. The same thing also runs with the staff, where we do performance management. Not to say, oh, we're going to fire you, but performance management is like, okay, these are my strengths, and as a school, I want to do this and this, and we have a candid conversation. Okay, maybe we can pay for this PD, and if we take the surveys and majority of the teachers are looking for that same type of training, then we give them that training. But we have an open door policy where we make sure that our staff knows that they can come to us. And some conversations where we have to lead, where it's like, okay, you know what, you're not your best at this area, this is where we need to change your performance management, and this is what we can do, but you also need to do that half. So the responsibility bears on everybody. And one thing that I love about my current principal is that he's not all about you just staying where you are. He always asks you, where do you see yourself 5 years down the line, and what can I do to support you to get there? So I've kind of learned that language, and that's what we've been applying to the children, and we've been applying to our teachers as well. And it's getting them to think that, you know what, maybe, my job is not just to be in the classroom, or even if I'm going to be a good teacher, maybe I can be the good teacher that analyzes the data very well, or I'm the good teacher that makes sure that my classroom management is top notch, that I can mentor other teachers. So that's where we're going right now. It's a journey, because once you're doing it for yourself, you kind of hold that expectations for everybody else too. But I like the fact that my principal came in and he's the one that's dropping the gem in. So like, it's kind of like a language that we're all speaking. So
Well, I
yeah,
love that.
yeah.
I truly believe that powerful leaders
Hmm.
empower others, right?
Definitely,
I,
yeah.
I have worked with some leaders who are intimidated by some of their staff, and that's, to me, is not a powerful leader. And I believe powerful leaders also are open to constructive criticism.
Definitely.
I've worked with some that have real thin skin and get offended when they receive that constructive feedback from their constituents. And I just don't. I'm team
Yeah.
your principal. Okay, I'm team. I'm
Yeah, no,
team
no, no.
your
He's he's
principal. I
he's
believe
he's
that.
really good. Yeah, he's really, really good.
Hmm.
He's all about making sure that people grow. And even for me, we've had to have conversations. Like I told you, I'm in the middle of getting my principalship, and I would go to him. I'm like, this is the area I need to work on. Can you, like, tell me another area? And he'll be like, no, 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 no. Okay, you're a little too hard on yourself on this one, but have you try and look at this? So one of the things, like, for example, I'm working on is work-life balance. And he's like, you really need to work on your work-life balance. So we struggle, like, and that's an area that I struggle with, to be honest, because
Hmm.
once I start, I don't know how to turn it off, because in my mind I have, okay, by May this needs to be done, and he's like, no, it's a 2-year process. You need to give it time to grow. Or sometimes I'm at the part where I've already mapped it out in my head, and if majority of my staff are not with me, he's like, no, 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 in your head, that's how you mapped it out. You need to go back and see where your teachers are right now and go through the steps. So it's kind of like a journey for me as well, because then sometimes when I do make a plan, especially when it comes to teaching and learning, I have to be like, okay, where are my teachers are right now? Okay, 50% are here. So I can move these 50% on, but then I have to adjust it for these 50% of the teachers. So that's kind of like I'm also learning as well.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah,
I am so team your principal because first of all, I hear growth mindset in what you've
very
just
much so.
expressed to me. I hear self care and work life
Yes.
balance. And
Right.
then I also hear empowerment. Like, I honestly, out of the over 20 plus years of teaching, I don't think I've ever heard a principal say to me in, like, maybe a post observation conference, like, where do you want to go next? You know,
Yeah.
how can I help you? I don't think I've ever heard anyone say, like, where do you want to see yourself in 5 years? I don't think I've ever heard that from one of my administrators.
No, like this is to be honest, this is the first time I've experienced it. And he's a brother too. So it makes a huge difference. So, like, even for example, I've had teachers that in the middle of the academic year, they're like, yo, we want to resign. And he'll be like, where you're going, do they offer you more than we offer you? That's his thing. His thing is like, don't go somewhere where you're not going to be financial or you're not going to grow. He doesn't take it personal, where most people will make it so hard for you, as you know, as international schools, they make it so hard for you to leave, and then they want to block you and stuff like that. No, he's honestly really much about, this is where you are, what can I do to help you get there? And if you're not pulling your weight, and he is, he'll be like, well, we're doing A, B, and C, and you're not following along with the line. So you do have hard conversations. Like, he puts you very accountable, because I think for him, it's like, if you succeed, it's a succeed for him too, like, to help you grow. So it makes a big of a difference to have somebody that sees your potential but also helps you grow, right? Because it's really,
Yes.
really hard to find it, especially even when you are at home, but especially on an international level, where somebody's going to help you grow, and they
Yes.
don't feel like, oh my God, if they train you up, you're going to take their job, type of thing,
Right.
right? Yeah.
Yes. And Malika says the same. Yes. I love principals growing teachers and pushing them for better. Yeah,
Definitely.
I definitely hear that in this conversation. Let's get into this next question. Overcoming challenges. So, what challenges have you faced as an international leader, and how do you
Whew.
set goals to overcome them and maintain resilience?
Whew. Well, the racism thing, like, I don't have a like a Christian name. I have a fully African name, where it kind of hinders me a little bit sometimes, where like, I was at a job where somebody was very racist, and HR wasn't even doing anything about it, and I was managing this person. So to the point, I had to threaten them that I was going to take it to labor. So in that perspective, I'm not gonna lie, it really hurt me. But then I had to be like, that's not my problem if that person has a problem with me. And to be honest, I kind of like being the underdog, like, because nobody really looks at you. I take it and I look at I take that time to grow myself, and be like, okay, you know what? If I'm gonna compete with this race, what do they have that I don't have? And literally 95% of the time, when you go and apply for jobs, we're way more qualified than what the person is. Do you know what I mean? So
Yes, I
I
do.
I like I like being the underdog, and I like the fact that I can use that time to collect whatever paper I need to collect and build the connections that I need to connect. We all know I'm a homebody, but I'm one of those people. Like, if I meet somebody, I try to keep that connection. And one thing that I have found is that there's only 3 degrees of separation. Like, within 13 and a half years that I've been here, I have run into people that have known somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody.
Right.
So most of the time, when you are looking for something, that person will connect you to this person, to that person. Like, give you a quick example. We just became a NIAS candidate, and the lady that was the lead for our NIAS, apparently she knew an old colleague of mine. So after our inspection, they met up for lunch, and she was like, oh, I was at this school and I met this lady named Adwoa, blah, blah. She's like, my Adwoa. And it's funny because this lady lives in Kuwait and this lady lives here. So she calls, oh my God, I met this lady and she was at your school. 3 degrees of separation. So for me, like, planning success is about, you have to be intentional. And I think for us, sometimes we are our own detriment, because we go somewhere, we don't want to make the small talks, we don't want to open up, and then you never know who you're going to run into. So I think planning for success is making sure that if you are somewhere, you're meant to be there, and that's a
Right.
place that you get to know people, whether nothing comes out of it. Somebody that knows somebody knows somebody that knows somebody that
That's
so
powerful. If you
yeah.
are somewhere, you're meant to be there.
Yeah. I
Talk to the
totally
people.
believe that.
Talk to
Yeah,
people.
totally.
Very interesting. Just for the viewers' knowledge, we are in Abu Dhabi, which is an emirate in the United Arab Emirates, which is where Dubai is. People generally don't know Abu Dhabi, but they know Dubai. So we are in Abu Dhabi and specifically Al Ain, which is another city in Abu Dhabi. Just
Yeah.
want the viewers to know.
And it's only
um,
an hour and a half away from Dubai. So,
yeah, close. It's
yeah.
close. We were there on last Friday, right?
Yeah.
Last Friday.
Yes.
Okay, so let's get into this next question. Um, planning for success. You talked a little bit about that, like how you, like you say, you manifested this position. Let's talk a little bit more about it. How do you incorporate goal setting into your leadership approach to ensure both personal and professional growth in the new year? So, like, we're coming up on 2025. So, like, walk us through like your plan for success for this upcoming year.
I plan in quarters. I don't, doing the whole year does not work for me. I know that from January till March ending, this is what I want to achieve. So I plan in quarters. So, for example, I want to make sure that I'm up to date with my principalship course. I'm up to date with our SDP because we might have an inspection in the second quarter. I really want to work on my health. So I've started previously. So I list them down and said, like, okay, I'm not really a gym person, so I just want to be healthy. So what do I want to do? Okay, maybe I'll go for walks 2 times a week. If it gets too hot, what am I going to do? Maybe I'll sign up for like I'll watch YouTube videos. So I try to make sure that I don't make too many goals, but I make sure that if I have 10 goals, I break it up in quarters. And then from the quarters, I break it up into months. Like, okay, I can achieve this in the next 4 weeks. I can achieve this in the next 6 weeks. The whole year thing doesn't work for me. So I try and make sure that I break things up in quarters,
Gotcha.
and that works for me. That is the
Okay, I
that's
like
one
that.
thing that I've
Break it
noticed
up
has
in
worked for me.
quarters.
Yes,
I love
because
that.
I get really overwhelmed if I see like 14 things on the list. And then by the time you get into like April, you haven't even done two of the stuff on the list. And then you kind of like just get into, into a a spiral where you're like, oh, forget about this goal. And I think like for me, a lot of my goals are not just a yearly goal. It's like a life goal thing, right? Like, courses, otherwise you have a time limit where you need to do it. So
Right.
it kind of has a finish goal. But when it comes to like health and traveling, like if I don't get to have it travel in the first quarter, it's not a big deal because then I can get some in the summertime and I can get some in December. So I try to make sure that at least I get a minimum of 2 trips a year. If I don't get 2 trips a year and I get one in, that's cool for me. But I just got to make sure that also one of my goals is to make sure that I have a self-care time. And I just realized self-care is not just about getting my nails done and my hair done. It's all just about just having time to like just even just reflect on how life is going and be appreciative, just having the moment to ground yourself and be like,
Yeah.
God, I just want to thank you, or just having the moment to journal. I think that once we get back into work, we think, oh, I'm gonna get my hair done, I'm gonna get my nails done, and I'm gonna go shopping. Is self-care time. No, but I'm realizing now that self-care time is just making sure I have the time for me, not having the TV on, even if it's just 15 minutes a
Hmm.
week where I just get to sit down and just be grateful and just show appreciation. I think that's one of the things that I really want to work on in 2025 is to just sit there, appreciate what I have now and be grateful for it. That's one of my goals.
Love
That's one of
it.
my top goals, whether it be professionally, whether it be um personal, like cuz I think the only thing I really tend to celebrate is like my professional goals, and this year I really want to celebrate my personal goals, yeah, or my
I love
personal
it.
journey of growth, yeah.
Yeah, I love that. So my takeaway from this segment is breaking things up into quarters so that we're not overwhelmed when that
Yes.
list is so long. So shorter lists and then break it up into quarters. I really like that.
Yeah.
One thing that I do not do New Year's resolutions. I do a theme for the year, and it's crazy because in this conversation, I believe the spirit just gave me abundance. So I think one year my theme was just finish, like
Mm,
finish, because like
mm,
girl, you got so many projects that you haven't even finished yet, and now you get ready to start a new project. Okay, so one year my goal was just finish, right? One year
mhm.
my goal was deepen relationships,
Yes.
right? And I just got to download that my theme this year is going to be abundance.
Yeah.
So yeah, so like everything I do is centered around these themes, you
Yeah.
know. If
Yeah.
it's not if it's not related to this theme or getting me closer to this theme, then maybe
It's
that's a
gotta
no-go.
go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or just keep it.
Yeah.
Just keep it in the background. Maybe it might come back
Right.
again next year. Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. But
Yeah.
yeah, I love that. And then I know Malika's on here. I'm so happy she's here. She said alhamdulillah, life goals, and then she talked about gratitude. She posted gratitude.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, self-care can be as simple as breathing, like
Yeah.
taking a few minutes just to do deep breathing. That
Breathing.
could
Yeah,
be
you're right.
self-care because we go through the day and we're not really even thinking about our breath, right? Thank
Yeah,
God we have it. Thank
that's
God we
true.
have it because we're not even thinking about it. But like to simply just take a few minutes just to take some deep breaths, that is a form of self-care.
Yeah, it is. And I think a
Yeah.
lot of people just, like I said, I always used to think self-care was getting my hair and nails done. But the last couple of months, I've just been really grateful. Like, even like, we've talked and I'm like stressed about some stuff, but I'm not really that stressed because I know that either way is gonna work out, right? It's just a matter of when. But then while in the waiting, as they say, while in the waiting, you're grateful that you're even
Yeah.
have the opportunity to wait to see it manifest. And I
Yeah.
think that with everything that's going around in the world, everything, I think we just need to be very grateful that we are still here because a lot of people aren't, right? Or they're sick, they don't have loved ones. Yeah, so I just think that if things that we really need to do is like when we think about self-care, is we just need to look within us and be like, you know what? I'm good. And just listen to yourself because we always are looking for the answers outside. But if we don't
Mhm.
incorporate that as a self-care to actually be in tune with ourselves, you're never gonna hear what you have to do next.
So
Mm.
true. It's
Yeah.
so true. And I mean, the fact that we get to live and work abroad in these beautiful countries. Like I'm currently in Belo Horizonte, Brazil. And you get to be here in Abu
Yeah,
Dhabi and Al Ain. And Al Ain is so beautiful. I'm like
it
so
is.
excited because I've never had an opportunity to spend significant time in Al Ain. I think I
Yeah.
just drove through. Like I was telling Malika, I was telling Adwoa how we did the Seven Emirates tour. And for those of you who don't know, the United Arab Emirates is made up of seven emirates, and we can think of them as a state, right? Um, yeah, that's the closest thing we can relate them to as a state or a province, like if you're from
Yeah.
Canada, right? But like, yeah, I mean, we just drove through Ali. We didn't stop,
No, it's
but
beautiful.
yeah, so just being here is just really it's been I'm just happy to be back in the United Arab
Yeah.
Emirates overall. I'm grateful, okay? But yeah, I mean, we get to live and work in these beautiful countries
Yeah.
and explore and experience new cultures, right? That's in
Yeah,
itself is something to be super grateful for, right?
definitely. Definitely. Yeah.
So let's talk about advice. Okay. Advice for 2025 goal setting or just advice in general. It doesn't even have to be goal setting. If you want it to be, that's fine. But what advice would you give to aspiring leaders and educators about setting and achieving impactful goals for the upcoming year?
I think one of the things is that as leaders, we kind of look at things in isolation. And one of the things that I've learned this year is like, yeah, you can have all the goals, but in order for the goals to manifest, you need all your teachers on board. You need everybody on board. So when you do make a goal, it's really good for you to share it, not just with your SLT, but also with your middle leaders. And then it trickles down with the teachers, right? Because then sometimes the goals can be so abstract that you kind of like once they start asking questions, you can break it down. So I just think that when you are making a goal, I don't think that you should just make it also a 1 year goal. Some goals can be 2 years, like,
Yeah.
and 1 year goals for a school that, like, for example, my school is 3 years old. 1 year goals are not, maybe short little ones, yeah, but a long term one, you need to have like a 5 year strategic goal in order for you to see things through. So I think that when you are making a plan, you shouldn't be just in isolation. I think that you need to also have the broader view of the school in mind, or like representatives, so they can also have an opinion in it. Because ultimately, one thing I've learned again is that in SLT, in order for 98% of the goals that you need to make is teaching and learning. And if your teachers are not on board and you're not part of the process, it's not going to get done. So
Mm,
if you're going to make those goals, you need to make sure that you include the entire team. And then also you need to involve the stakeholders such as the parents as well, right? And then the students voice. So I think that when you do look at it, it's not just a singular, you need to look at it in steps as well. Like, okay, this is the goal, let's share with the faculty, let's share with this, let's get some of the students representative in voice, and then and then the parents as well, because it's a circular, you need everybody to be part of it. um in terms of advice, if anybody wants to get into leadership, if it's one of those things that you've been thinking about it for 3 months, 6 months, a year, just do it. Honestly, what is the worst that is going to happen? The good thing is that you always meet people that are also in leadership as well, that are going to help you and guide you. We have networks around, right? And like, I have another mentor who's in Saudi, and she's been my mentor since 2017. And
mm,
when things are really good, because I need a female perspective, right? So when things are really going down, I just give her a call. She's like, I'll call you back. And then we literally sit down and be like, okay, well, this is where you messed up and this is what you need to do. Or yes, you're on the right track and this is what you need to do. So I think that if you do need to get into leadership, get yourself a mentor. And if you are back home, I don't know, anywhere in the Western Hemisphere, and you're like, oh, I don't know if I want to do this international journey, just do it. What's the worst that's gonna happen? You don't like it and you go back home. But if you have that nudge in the back of your head that's saying, okay, let's try this, just apply for it. Because you don't know. Sometimes, like I was saying, your body tells you what you need to do. But if you don't listen, you miss all those opportunities. So my thing that is some if you don't try, you're never gonna know. So just do it,
right.
and in some ways I have to take my advice in some things. And yeah, so I think that if you're going to be making goals with your like a goal for your school, you need to involve all stakeholders. If you're looking into going abroad to teach, just do it. If you are a teacher that's looking to make your next step, as to go into middle leadership, to go, and if you're in middle leadership, to go into your senior leadership, just apply for it. If that one school you're at is not going to give it to you, that's not where you're meant to be anyways. Step outside of your zone and just go for it.
Go for it.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I think sometimes we can get complacent, right?
Yeah.
Or sometimes we can allow fear, false evidence appearing real, fear,
Right.
to
Yeah.
stop us from taking that leap to teach abroad or become an administrator internationally. So yeah, I love it. Just do it.
Oh, I
Just
just want to add one
do
more
it.
thing. I
Of
think that's
course.
also when people like apply for those senior positions and they don't get it, they get all disappointed. But don't get disappointed, because then you've got an interview and you know what kind of questions they're going to ask you. So then you can go back and be like, okay, when I'm answering these questions, these are the examples from my experience that I can make it more human so they can connect to me. So I don't think that people should get discouraged either, because if you've never been interviewed like that before, you don't know what type of questions that they're asking. So what if you do get that opportunity in the interview and you don't get it? Okay, great. You know what type of questions that they're going to ask you. You know how to prepare. You know what kind of examples that you're going to put in there from your experiences to lead you on to your next position.
Absolutely. And I just want to add to what you're saying. Discouragement and disappointment, they are just feelings.
Yeah,
Feel them, let them pass, but don't take up real estate and live in them, right?
yeah, I agree. I
Feel
agree.
them, get past them, keep moving on, keep moving forward, keep pressing forward to your goal. So let's get into this next one, empowering the future. So as we step into 2020, I can't even believe I'm saying
I
2025.
know.
Can you believe it? Like we are here, 2025. Oh my gosh. What are some of your goals for empowering your students and staff to thrive in a globalized world? So where are
Uh,
you taking your staff and your students in this next
w-
year?
well, I think one of the things that we're really looking to work on is just having a global understanding, because in the UAE we're very much about, oh, national identity, let them know about their national identity, but they need to learn about other national identity as well, right? International identity. So I think one of the things that we're really looking to do next academic year is having like an international day. Not necessarily, oh, the kids go and research an international day, but if they know that their teacher is from somewhere, they need to go and find facts about where their teachers are, not just the tourist stuff, but also making sure that they know more about that. Because one of my friends here, he's at a government school and they had a national day and some of his kids researched Jamaica, right? Because he's Jamaican. So I got that idea from him. So I think making sure that the kids actually know what's going on, not just in the context of the UAE, but actually what's going on around the world. One of the things that we've been toying around is making like getting a pen pal so the kids can pen pal. But my school's an all
Mm,
boys school, so we're trying to find a school that's also an all boys school for them to pen pal, so so they can get another perspective of what life is like for a 13-year-old that lives maybe in Chicago, or a 13-year-old that lives in Ghana or Kenya. You know what I mean? So those
yes.
are the type of things that we're making sure that we're looking into. For our teachers, we're looking into making sure that they're looking at how they can grow as a teacher as well. Not just our thing is that if we don't offer that as a PD, because we have a PD budget that we've let them know, is like, let us know and we'll invest in that. And then sometimes if we don't have it, you need to invest in yourself as well, because you are your marketing tool, right?
Right.
So those are the type of things that we're working on to just make sure that the kids have more of a global perspective in life and what is going on, not just in the UAE vacuum, but what is going on outside of here. And yeah, just trying to connect with other children that are their age just to see how their life is like, because not everybody has a driver, right? Not everybody has a nanny.
Right.
So
Oh my gosh.
yeah.
Not everybody's privileged, right?
Yeah,
Not
yeah,
everybody is
yeah,
privileged. This is so
yeah,
true.
yeah,
We'll talk more about that. I might have an all
yeah.
boys school for you in Washington,
Okay,
D.C. Talk more
perfect. That would be
offline.
great. Great.
You got this has been a wonderful conversation, and I
Yeah, it
hope
has.
those who view this or who watch the replay get what they need out of this because you have definitely dropped some gems.
Thank
Okay.
you.
So everyone, I just want to let you know that I do have a Teachers Pay Teachers store. And on that
Great.
store, I have a self care toolkit for teachers because we talked a lot about self care today. And then also those of you who have been thinking about teaching internationally, I have a ebook called Exit on my Teachers Pay Teacher store. So my Teachers Pay Teacher store is called KD for my middle initials, Kimberly Deneen Inspiration. So go on over to teacherspayteachers.com and search for KD Inspirations, and you will find both of those resources there. And then also reach out to me. My email is on that Teachers Pay Teacher store if you have questions. And let's ask Adwoa, how can people keep up with you? You want to
You
share
know,
your LinkedIn?
I'm on LinkedIn with my full name,
Okay.
Adwoa Appiah-Boateng. I have Facebook. I need to get back and checking that more. Yeah, but you can literally, if you need anything in terms of education wise or how to start or anything, LinkedIn, it would be the best way to find me because I will respond back. I'm not really a Facebook. I don't go on Facebook that much, or
LinkedIn.
like social media that much. But LinkedIn, I definitely am on LinkedIn because I get a lot of requests and stuff like that. So you can find me on LinkedIn, or if you ever go on to, or you can email me adwoa.boateng@charterschools.ae. So if you have any questions about starting your international journey, LinkedIn or my email. Yeah.
Okay, and I will add those to the show notes. If you'll
Okay.
just send them to me via WhatsApp, I'll make sure that those two items are on the show notes as well. Thank you so much for being my
Thank
Sparkle
you.
today. And I hope you've had a good time
I
sharing this
did.
in this conversation with me.
Thank
And
you.
we'll see you next month for Sparkle Saturdays.
Bye, everybody. Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.
Okay, let me